How many of you would love to know how it is to be part of consecration via Prana Pratishtha for the divine feminine energy? And here is with Bhairavi Devi, with Sadhguru last May here in America, and it was a phenomenal, glorious time on our planet to celebrate the divine feminine energy, which has been lacking for so many thousand years. So it was an epic event here, and in this video satsang, we're going to delve deep into not only my mystical experiences at the temple, and many, but we're going to also talk about the divine feminine energy. But we'll go deeper probably with the mystical experiences, because there's an upcoming video satsang that will be only on the divine feminine energy, how to harvest your own goddess within, your own divinity. I call it divine presence. You can say divinity or goddess. Very important. Divine feminine energy, some of you might be aware that it is not a gender. It's not feminism. Some of you might be thinking, oh my God, what is this? Is this a new age movement? Divine feminine energy has been forever, eternal. And everyone has it, male and female. We all have the divine feminine energy, so the same for the divine masculine energy, about bringing the balance and the full marriage into the Saraswara. So, but what's so extraordinary about this celebration here on this part of the globe, in the Western Hemisphere, is, to the best of my knowledge, is the first abode or temple, you may say, for the divine feminine energy. And many of you are probably well aware that for thousands and thousands of years, because of patriarchal mindset, with the divine masculine energy that was ruling some religion, patriarchal religion. What I mean by that patriarchal religion is they had power over. Very different. Power over means dominating, conquest, oppression. So women were oppressed, the weaker gender, I would say, animals. And so for thousands of years has been dominating on our planet. Even still today, you can see that it's still happening, milder than it used to be, probably thousands of years ago, but so causing so many wars, so much unnecessary suffering and pain. And so it's important to demystify what is divine feminine energy. It is manifesting. She is the grand empowerment, the ultimate primal cosmic energy. And this is what is important to realize. It is the sacred creative force of the universe. So in the yogic tradition, we say she is Prakriti. Prakriti, bringing that play of manifestation of everything that is Shakti, cosmic energy. Everything is Shakti, even in the flowers. And so, and Purusha, pure consciousness, is the source of creation. So they're not two different entities, two principles. They meet, their interaction is that beautiful, intricate dance of Shiva Shakti. We can say it's the same. Shiva Shakti, Purusha, Prakriti manifests this existence. So Purusha experience the play of manifestation through Prakriti. So Shakti, Adi Shakti, the first, meaning without form, Parashakti, the ultimate ground empowerment of the Divine Mother. In the yogic tradition, we call it Divine Mother, and many yogis call the Divine Mother. And so Bhairavi Devi is a Mahashakti, and her form is through the Linga. She's fierce, fierce and glorious and luminous in so many ways. Fierce in the sense that she comes and destroys what needs to be destroyed. Ego. She cut my head off a long time ago. I have mentioned that in a previous satsang on the mystical deity and the power of mystical deity. If you haven't watched that video satsang, it's coming up next. Make sure you click on that button. And so Bhairavi Devi means the word Bhairavi comes from Bhairava, which is her consort. Bhair, which is the Sufis, which means awe-inspiring, fear. And so Bhairavi, that's what it means, awe-inspiring and fearless, fierce or fearful in the eye of some people, because she's so awe-inspiring. And by the way, stay tuned, because when I start sharing my experiences, one of them towards at one point I'm going to share was not part of the consecration, but I felt like I really wanted to share that with you because it's so profound and so mystical, and I have seen her form. So it is a living entity. She was manifested into the physical form. If you haven't watched that video satsang, like I say on medical deity, I talk in depth about the different category. So Bhairavi Devi is a linga, is a form. Remember, beloved, every form has a vibration. Every vibration has a sound. And so is any deity, especially in the world of goddesses, who are being manifested into a unique form, and they all serve a higher purpose, and either for ecstasy, well-being. In the case of Bhairavi Devi, here is well-being of physical, emotional, mental, wealth, and can bring you to the highest, to liberation, what we call mukti in the yogic tradition. Some other goddesses form or enlightenment, they serve a different purpose. Everyone is consecrated differently. And this Bhairavi Devi, oh my God, I bow down because her grace has been so beautiful. And here, the grace of Sadhguru has been beyond. So let's share a little bit about, beside, many of you are not aware of that, I bet you. In Sanatana Dharma just mean, from Sanskrit, a way of life. And it is a way of conduct, of ethical conduct. And in Hinduism, where you follow a certain code of ethic, you pursue eternal truth. It means eternal truth, it means eternal path. And in the yogic tradition also. So it's not a religion or a sect. It is a culture, and not to be misunderstood. The same thing with in the yogic tradition, when it comes to the world of goddesses, it's in the world of Tantra, that they are sefer. They are symbol. They are tool that serve a higher purpose of self-realization and enlightenment. It's not a religion. We do not believe that this is the ultimate reality, the creator, so to speak, with the big capital G. It is an access. It is a gateway to take you there. And so not to be misunderstood, because it's not a religion. The yogic tradition is not a religion, and so is Sanatana Dharma is not a religion. It's a culture. It's a way of life that respects all living beings, that fosters social harmony, and has deep respect for all living beings. That is the true path of a yogi and a yogini. And there are intertwined Sanatana Dharma and the yogic tradition because they have the same roots. So, very important in Sanatana Dharma, Bhairavi Devi is known for thousands and thousands of years as a Mahavidya. She is the fifth of the 10 avatar for the Divine Mother. There's 10 of them. Each one of them serves a different purpose. Bhairavi Devi is considered to be the highest in many ways. The destroyer, she can speed your pathway to enlightenment. And she cut off my head a long time ago. And so in that respect, a deity can be very fierce. And so in the yogic tradition in Sanatana Dharma, she's considered the fifth Mahavidya. Mahavidya means cosmic knowledge, deep divine wisdom. All the Mahavidya have incredible power. They're equally powerful, but Bhairavi Devi has her own flair. And so very important to know that it has been in existence for so many thousands of years. But Sadhguru here, just himself as a yogi and a mystic, manifested her a form. The form in a form of a linga and also in a form of an entity. And I will tell you, she's fully alive. Stay tuned because we're getting exactly into the mystical experiences at this consecration last May here on this hemisphere. And to know a lot more in depth about the divine feminine energy, please don't forget to click on our Drinking Bliss Divine Satsang, which is so powerful, full of wisdom, and there is a process in it, an empowerment, and you can delve really deeper into the satsang on that subject. And I go more in depth also how to connect and receive grace. But if you're just here right now in this moment, right now for one moment with us, through your consciousness breath, you can connect. If you close your eyes, you can get a glimpse of the Mahashakti, of the Mahadevi. So close your eyes and take a deep breath together before I go into the mystical experiences inside the consecration via Prana Pratishtha with Sadhguru. So feel the energy going up and down, and be mindful and aware in your spine. And let's take 3 deep breaths together. And one last one. So Bhairavi is a powerful force, and she's fierce, and yet she's so compassionate and nurturing. And by the way, all the quality of Mahashakti, of the Divine Mother, doesn't matter which of the 10 avatar of the Divine Mother is Parashakti, that primordial divine force energy is of nurturing, caring, nourishing, tenderness, compassion, benevolence, all of those things, and creativity, one of the most important one, that has been lacking on our planet for so many thousands of years. So now inside the temple of the abbot of Bhairavi Devi here in the Western Hemisphere was so phenomenal. So when I arrived there, we were told it was fine to bring your backjack. Let's start with a few casual things, but nevertheless subtle. Casual, I would not say that, but mystical and kind of very intriguing and insightful. And so I have had some major back injuries, so it's very hard for this one to sit for many, many hours without any support, and especially a whole day. And so I did bring it. And when we arrived there for the first morning, we were told, and that was an incredible privilege and blessing to be there. And that's the most important thing I didn't mention. And I'm deeply grateful beyond words, because this was, to my being, a dream come true that I wanted to experience and be part of. Because it's not a spectator, you participate. It's very intense. And you have to give your energy into the process of Prana Pratishtha. And it was beyond a dream. It was something I wanted to do for many, many lifetimes. And it manifested today by the grace of the Divine Mother and Sadhguru and Shiva. And so I brought my backjack. You know, where there's a backjack, it's like a little seat where you can sit and you have some support. But we were told right before entrance to the temple, on the first day we were not allowed to bring it. And I said, oh my God, I said, Mahadevi, I said, how am I going to do through the whole consecration? My back was a little bit out. And I didn't worry. I said, you figure it out. I was telling her that telepathically. And then we were told that our seat inside the temple were already assigned. And I was pretty close, but not in the first row. And I'm glad I wasn't, because it would have been too much in terms of where I would have sit there in the stair. So I completely let go and surrender it. And I said, Bhairavi Devi, you figure it out. And I was not concerned. I said, I know. And I walk into the temple, and I didn't even think of it. That it was just a few seconds. I walk into the temple, and my name happened to be right on the first flat pillow. 8 rows down, probably I would say halfway through the temple, but right beside the wall. How can you imagine? Among 125 people inside of the abbot, I was right to the wall, was giving me some support. What are the chances? It's pure grace. And so that's the first thing happened. And then during all the processes, one process we did a lot was very incredibly intense. And I cannot share and reveal every details, and it's to be kept into the consecration, but it was done through Prana Pratishtha, working with our own life force energy and with elements that Sadhguru was using, like Kumkum, which is called sandu, so it's a powder, a red powder of turmeric, black sesame, many other things. And Oh, by the way, there was a first thing we did, I didn't mention. Sadhguru talked about that. Bhairavi Ratma Shuddhi, which is blood purification. We wear something around our arms for 3 days and we slept with it, because it's been known that Linga Bhairavi Devi, not only she's fierce in terms of destruction and getting rid of ego and mind, but also removing genetic memory. 7 cycle of genetic memory that you don't want. You want to get rid of that karma, so it's not in the way of your self-realization. And so I was wearing this thing. Every detail I share with you is very important. Please stay tuned, because then you will understand also about my mystical experiences. Extremely important. So, and I cannot reveal exactly what it was, but it was a natural thing, and it was part of the process. The other process we did a lot was with a very powerful mantra, which is not easy to learn, and people were getting very confused. A lot of seekers were getting confused in the beginning, but I had done that before because I was part of the other major consecration of its kind here in America, another grace, another blessing. That one took place 10 years ago at the Abad of Yoga for the Adi Guru. It was really also incredible. And so we did almost, if not the similar process. And it's a special mudra with your arms, and also speaking it loud. Remember, every sound has a form, every sound has a form in the universe, and every form has, let me rephrase that. Every vibration has a sound, or you could say every sound has a vibration. Every vibration has a form. And so Bhairavi Devi is a living entity, and she's manifested into the physicality, into that space, pure space, glorious space, and you could say also in the Akash. And so at one point throughout the consecration, and that process, by the way, was very crucial, because it was the process of Prana Pratishtha, where you give in a lot of energy. You really have to give it all your way. And during some of the processes, at one point, just a funny little thing, oh my God, my bladder was screaming. And normally it's not so much of a problem, but I was drinking a lot of water. And at one point, I said telepathically to Sadhguru, bladder screaming, time for a break, to go to the restroom. As I was telling him that, 3 seconds, not even 2 seconds, he said, okay, time for a break. It's time for bladder, something like that. He almost repeated my words, and I laughed. I laughed. And I was, like I said, it was like probably 8 rows down, far away from Sadhguru. He could not have heard. And then I was laughing, and I whispered to the other person who was sitting against the wall. I said, Sadhguru, I must have heard what I said telepathically. He repeated exactly the same word. And I was laughing, and very low. It's like you could barely, impossible that you would hear it. Again, telepathy. And then as I was saying that, as soon as I finished saying that, he said exactly there, no discussing of bladder. Can you imagine? He said, everybody, go, take a break, go to the restroom. But it's just little tiny fun thing, insight for you to share, because now we're getting to the most juicy, I'm sure all of you want to know. Oh, ecstasy, pure ecstasy. I was drifting in my divine presence into Satchitananda. And what I did mention earlier when I was talking about Bhairavi in Sanatana Dharma, in the yogic tradition, is there is also in Vedanta a state of non-dualistic of self, is to be one with everything, where you experience a state of Brahma. And it's considered a state of Brahma the same as Satchitananda. Our true divine nature, Sat, omnipotent, omnipresent, pure consciousness, unchanging, permanent, and that's what is the state of Brahma. Brahma is considered to be the pervading, ultimate, pure consciousness, all-pervading, unchanging God, you could say, if you want to use the word God, or the absolute intelligent truth. It's called Brahma. And so a state of Brahma is when you are one with everything. We could say in the yogic tradition, you're in a state of yoke. You're in a state of complete existence, one with everything. And you experience what I call the divine presence, Satchitananda, which I was saying, pure consciousness, omnipotent, omnipresent, and Chit for unchanging, permanent, Ananda, bliss, not bliss from external object, but bliss from our own nature. And in the yogic tradition, some say is the bliss body, Ananda Maya Kosha, but there's a debate over that for thousands and thousands of years, but this is irrelevant. And so I was dripping in ecstasy, and I was dancing. There was part where I was dancing wild, and at one point, Sadhguru left. He went to see other people outside, and I went dancing in front of the Trishula. Right there was a space, and Trishula is like that pointed object that has the three arc, which means indicate victory over the three gunas. And more on that on upcoming video, but it means victory over a transcendence over the physicality. Let's make it short. And some of you know what it means. And so if you want to know more, you can look on this upcoming video on divine wisdom, tapping into divine wisdom with Ascended Master. In that video satsang, I talk a lot about the three gunas, the universal of the university of the universe. So here the Trishula here is that indicating that the goddess, the deity, the Bhairavi Devi, as power, transcendence over those universal law. So here I was dancing, I was going wild, spinning in ecstasy, I was drunk in ecstasy. And at one point I go down the stair, Sadhguru was coming back inside the temple, and people rushed towards him. I was dancing with Bhairavi Devi right in front of the Linga, and he had an own revealder. This was on the second day, I believe, and at one point then they were dancing. Sadhguru was very intense, like his energy was like Kalabharava, like his consort, like fearful and intense and awe-inspiring. And he just walked down and they were following him, trying to make space. And I was going crazy, drunk in ecstasy, dancing with Bhairavi Devi, and I turned and Sadhguru was right there. And I was dancing with the shawl and I just laughed. And then that process that day, this the last coming up are just so beyond words. Stay tuned, beloved. So powerful, so mystical, the grace of the divine. And so we did that process again, but before we did that powerful spiritual process of consecration through Prana Pratishtha, Sadhguru threw Sandhu on us. I don't know if they did it all over throughout the consecration because I was inside the temple, but I know Sadhguru himself did it. And I don't know if he did it for everyone also, because it was a lot. We were 125 seeker people down in the temple. And so maybe he had some other of the volunteer help here, but he did it twice, 2 days in a row for the consecration. So Sandhu, remember I did mention, I believe, it is a red powder. And it's used in consecration. And it is made of turmeric. And it's called also Sandhu or Kumkum. And so the story goes that, some of you might know the story that Hanuman, the deity that looks like a monkey, who was a huge devout, big devotee of Rama. And so Rama and Sita, according to yogic lore, Rama is an avatar of Vishnu, and he was very much loved, and he adored his wife Sita, and she got kidnapped by the king of Sri Lanka, which is right below in the south of India. It's like a little island. It's not an island, but it looks like it's attached in the south of India. And she was in exile there for many decades, and I don't know how many, and what Sita would do, because she was in deep devotion for her husband, and so she would have a private moment with him. And what she would do, she would apply the Sandhu on her third eye, and this is how she would deeply connect on the mystical level, energetical level with Rama. Oh my God. When Hanuman heard the story, he said, wait a minute. He said, I'm going to drip myself in it. I'm going to bathe myself in Sandhu, because he had so much devotion for Rama. And so comes the story of why all the temple of Hanuman are orange, because Sandhu, when it fades away, it becomes kind of orange. And oh my God, when Sadhguru came at my spot, he threw it in my face and it went all over my dress, and it was orange. And it was, for everyone, I didn't mention, a lot of the participants, their Kundalini, they were going, some of them, not all of them, some of them, a few nearby, two in particular I'm thinking, were going through Kundalini ascension, so therefore they were experiencing spiritual spontaneous Kriya, which I talk a lot in my videos, satsang on Kundalini ascension. And there is a whole playlist on that. So if you want to learn more about this teaching and spiritual knowledge, I suggest you go on that playlist and learn more about Kundalini awakening and rising and ascension and spontaneous Kriya. And for me, for this one, I have gone through it like over 7 years ago, maybe a little less, 6 years. And I went through it like over 8 years, was furious, was so intense, was in the fast movement, burning hundreds of thousands of past life. And I don't recommend going in fast forward movement. Anyhow, very small percentage of people go through this extremely, and it comes also with grace and with intense sadhana. But anyhow, so I had gone through all that. So I did not experience spontaneous Kriya. In my case, with my being, the energy went straight in my third eye. And my third eye was so active and seeing light. And the it was the second day. Second day when Sadhguru came, actually I was dancing, standing up, and when I saw him coming closer and closer, and I knew he was coming my way, I sat down, I hid my white shawl, because I knew this would stain it, even though I managed to I washed all my other clothing, even though I didn't want to. They were all consecrated, but that shawl is still consecrated. And so I sat down and I closed my eyes. And when he came, he took 2 big handfuls and slapped it in my face. And I felt like, even on my head, I was dripping in sandhu. Can you imagine? I even have some photo of it because later on after the day, I had someone take photo, so to keep it and to show also to my husband who couldn't come to the consecration to show. But what matters here in that point, beloved, is when he threw the sandhu, and I could feel it, the heaviness of it on my head, on my third eye, my whole left side. It was all over on my dress, and I went, ooh. And it was so intense. My third eye was so wide open. And I dripped it in ecstasy. But in that moment, and the one thing I didn't tell you, I really need to backtrack. At one point I told Sadhguru, I had a question for him. And I never got a chance to ask. I never asked question. But that question, I kind of telepathically asked him. I said, are we going to give Bhairavi Devi a punch like you did in Nepal when you did the consecration in Nepal, to give Bhairavi Devi a third eye, the ashna, because Bhairavi Devi was consecrated with 3.5 chakra. The Muladhara as the foundation, the Swadhisthana, and the Manipuraka, and the heart chakra is the Anahata, which is only one triangle, only half chakra. And so at one point that same day, I said, Sadhguru, let's give her that punch you did in Nepal. And I remember when I did pass on my question and asking him, because he didn't take any questions during the consecration, I think only one question. Then he answered it, like within like a few minutes. He said, we're going to give Bhairavi Devi a third eye. And I thought, I bow down and I will say, perfect, you read my mind, Sadhguru. And so to go back to when he threw the sandhu on the second time, and it was a lot. I was bathing in it. The energy went up in my head and I was holding fiercely. Such an intensity of energy was incredibly intense for this one. And out of a sudden, even though I was bathing in ecstasy and drunk, and Amrita, I was dripping in Amrita, I suddenly saw the face of a little girl, a little child, a little girl that I lost. And I had never seen that past life karma. Talk about genetic memory wiped out here of Bhairavi Devi, Ratna, Shruti, blood purification. And what was most beautiful about this experience was I felt her. I saw her face in my third eye, and I had a moment with her. I experienced her presence, and I saw all her feature. And she was beautiful, and she was Indian. She was maybe 5, 6 years old. It was so divine, and And it was wipe out that genetic memory, because genetic memory create a bondage, and having a bondage only bring you back into reincarnation, into the world of suffering and pain, doing the same thing over and over. It was very powerful. I have tears in my eyes now. I was bathing in divine love and feeling this moment, and yet I was sobbing and sobbing and sobbing and burning, purifying this karma, some of my last karma. And it was really beyond words. And so the last, you see, I'm having a hard time talking, because that's the power of a deity, of a goddess, and of a Mahashakti, you know. And the last one is the last experience, and this is very sacred. And I'm going to write about it in my upcoming second book, which I hope, I'm sure it'll be published next year. It's like a second continuation of my first book, Becoming the Light. Maybe this will be part 2, but the subtitle is entitled The Sacred Lotus of Divine Love. And I will discuss more in depth about many aspects of divine love and relationship, but here in particularly of this experience. This was not in the temple. This was, remember when I told you she cut my head off? It was in 2018, and it was not long after I had gotten remarried in Udaipur. And my husband was still stuck. We were in the immigration process, which was very painful, very tedious. I had to fight so hard to bring him here in America. And then the pandemic hit, but that was later on. But the first time, no, actually, yeah, that was the second time. No, it was many times. No, the first time was in 2016. I take it back. I have been there many times. So the first time was in 2016. When I bowed down, I was almost, part of my body was almost levitating the floor. But I have been having a relationship with Bhairavi Devi, and the one thing I didn't mention, sorry I'm jumping because it's a lot to impart in one satsang. I want to go back to when I had the vision of my past karma with my beloved child, that I lost, that little girl. I don't know how, but I know she disappeared from that life in India. And because I could see clearly she was Indian, and she was very young, probably 5, 6 years old. Well, the meaning and the significance of that was so clear later on during the process. Was my relationship, the way I relate to Bhairavi Devi from day one, like I said, since she came in my life, always been as a child. You can relate to a goddess, a deity, in many ways, as your lover, as your mother. Most of the time, people take it on as the Divine Mother, or as it can be a sister is rare though, or as a friend, that's also rare. Most of the time is as a mother, the Divine Mother. But for this one, with Bhairavi Devi, she's always my little child. And so when I received the yantra way back many, many years ago, I began to tell you, I was like, she's my baby. I've been treating her as my little girl. So that made this past life vision even more significant, because she revealed to me why I did not have children in this life. One of the main reasons, number one, and also why she wants me so much to be a mother to the world and to have so many children all over the world. And so that has been her blessing. And I'm deeply, deeply not only grateful but moved, but in awe. So I was telling you about my last experience was in 2018. Prashant at the time was stuck in India, and was not long after I received the yantra. And yantra is just an instrument of grace. And the connection is so deep because, like I say, I don't have a head anymore. And so I was sitting in the master bedroom, and I was feeling this divine presence was overpowering, and it was dark. And I was alone, and I was living alone. And I was about to go to sleep, and I had closed my eyes. I think I did a meditation before sleeping. I don't remember because this was in 2017. I'm pretty sure of that. And I opened my eyes and I went in a state of no mind, a state of oneness. State of no mind is when there is no thought. That comes a state of non-duality. And I was in awe. Talk about awe-inspiring. And I said, oh, except for that, when I opened my eyes, I said mentally, I said, oh my God, you're so beautiful. And then no thoughts. And what I saw with my open eyes was beyond belief. It's been said that Bhairavi Devi, according to tradition of Sanatana Dharma in the yogic tradition, that fifth Vidya, the cosmic knowledge, wisdom I've been talking about earlier, is known to be luminous, effulgent, like 10,000 blazing sun. Did you hear that? 10,000 blazing sun. And this is what I saw. Mini sun, intricate, dancing into a form all over, illuminating the whole bedroom, was that kind of ethereal light. There was a dance of panic. It was Shakti energy, so effulgent, so mesmerizing, so inspiring, was beyond belief. And it was exactly that, a whole cosmos of 10,000 effulgent mini sunlight. That's the only way I can express it, beloved. These experiences render you so humble and in such a awe. And I don't know how long it lasted, but I was in a state of non-dualistic mind, in a state of ecstasy, quiet ecstasy, and I was just like that, witnessing. If I don't know if it lasted 5 minutes, half an hour, you don't have a sense of time and space. And then within there was a form, not a human form, like a like a female, like beautiful and sexy. No, it was some kind of a form, but it was distinguished form. But it was kind of smooth. But what was most remarkable was the dancing of those mini sun, like a whole cosmos and universe. And it left me into such a state of humbleness and gratitude and reverence beyond words. So this is really sacred. Please revere it with the highest dignity. And if you had any experiences, have you ever been in a consecrated temple? Have you been in a consecration? Maybe not in India, in other country. That would be fascinating to hear. Do you celebrate the divine feminine energy? Please share it with our beloved community. And so, if you love this satsang, please share it with your friends and your family, and subscribe also if you have, if you're new to our channel. And I look so much forward to all your comments. I send you a wave of divine love and light and bliss and blessing and grace. And with the deepest gratitude to Mahadevi, let's celebrate the divine feminine energy on our planet, because it's so much needed. And deep gratitude to Sadhguru and to the Mahadevi, and such a beautiful blessing. And I'm here as an instrument of grace for all of you.